quick, and don't put too much thought into this. What's been your most surprising storyline of the spring so far? Thought so. Good morning to you. Good. Thursday morning, I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place you found this. Pirates 7, Blue Jays 6 yesterday in Grapefruit Ball. That was in Bradenton, and a lot of the usual cast ended up highlighting the box score. O'Neill Cruz and Joey Bart homered. Mitch Keller had a nice little start. 62 pitches, by the way, which is just my way of saying we're getting close, you know. Ryan Borucki, a nice outing in relief, and that's fine, okay? I'm not, as you know, attaching any sort of importance to outcomes, collective or really even individual. But one thing I've consistently maintained throughout this offseason that's been so uninspiring and so static, and as a result, so, gloom and doom in terms of its feel, is that something significant needed to happen. Somebody needed to really rise up. There needed to be that one player, even if it's just a March mirage, even if it's just somebody who goes into Miami and has a nice 4-game series, and then the coach turns back into a pumpkin and that's the end of them. Something, maybe multiple somethings from the offensive perspective need to happen. That doesn't mean Matt Gorski hitting a couple homers early on. So if I'm looking from a perspective where I'm searching out positives, the first and most important point that I can share is that it takes some digging. It takes some work. I know what I'm going to get from Cruz. I know what I'm going to get from Brian Reynolds. I know what I'm going to get from Andrew McCutchen. I know for the most part what I'm going to get from the better guys in the starting rotation. And after that, you realize that you got all of that from most of those players in 2024, and it obviously was nowhere near good enough to make a broader difference. But there's maybe at least little signs along the way, and I'm going to offer 3 of them that I think I've been able to find. One of them is that Jack Sawinski is seeing some pitches at the plate. You can talk about his production, you can talk about the solid contact that he's made, but when you're talking about Jack, you're talking for the most part about just needing to stay in the zone. Not in his zone, but in the zone. At times, he's been given advice to stay within a certain quadrant of the strike zone because that's where he gets the home runs from. No, man, just stay in the actual strike zone and you'll be fine. Stay on the pitches in general that you feel you can hit and you'll be fine. Jack's done that to date. That matters even if he was hitting 0-0-0 right now, as opposed to 375 through 16 at-bats with a home run, 4 RBIs, and don't forget that Jack is fast. He has 3 steals. That's a nice little thing. He needs to keep it up. Another is that David Bednar is throwing strikes. Now, this shouldn't qualify as news in any year of this young man's life. He was born in Mars, Pennsylvania, throwing strikes, like right out of the womb. No matter what anyone thought they were getting from Bednar when he was plucked from the San Diego system, the one thing you knew was that he was going to throw strikes. When I go back over recent franchise history, the name that jumped to my mind at the time Bednar first got here was that of Matt Capps, who's now, of course, an esteemed broadcaster with the team. A little shout out there. Cappy could throw the ball wherever it was that he wanted. He was able to do that all through the minor league system. He was able to do that up into the majors, and he was able to parlay that into a wonderful career as a closer here and elsewhere. And yeah, there were times when he, too, couldn't necessarily get it where he wanted, but he always came back to it. So my default mode, as it relates to Bednar, has been and will remain that he just needs to get back on the bike. He just needs to be his best self. He doesn't need to be reinvented. He doesn't need to be recalibrated, restructured. He just needs to be re-Bednard. And to that end, the Bednar that I encountered down in Bradenton earlier this spring came with a little bit of an extra edge. Maybe, not so jovial and so, Mr. Accommodating to everything and everybody. And let's just get down to business. Let's get back to business. What a difference he'd make. Actually, what a difference both of them, Sawinski and Bednar, would make. And the third one that I'm going to put forth today is I don't have one. No, really, I don't. I just don't have one. I've had a few candidates. I was considering, Brian Hayes is showing some encouraging signs that he can stay healthy and stay on the field, but he's not exactly doing so with a series of exclamation points. 4 for 16 to date. Not much pop. Wanted to see somebody else other than Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, and Jared Jones really jump up in the rotation in the 4 or 5 spots. That hasn't happened. Wanted to see anything that would suggest that there's reason to believe that the Pirates have even a league average middle infield between Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Nick Gonzalez. I don't have that yet. Not offensively and not yet defensively. And that's kind of a bummer. It's not one of those spring things, but it's one of those that you do start talking about when the real games get going. And don't get me started on first base or the other corner outfield position. More is needed, is what I'm saying. More, much more is needed. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Brian, who asks, DK, does anyone else wake up and check the internet for the Pirates' new right fielder? I still believe that Tommy Pham may be that. He may be the team's primary new corner outfielder. Yeah, Brian, I mean, he just may. The first thing I want to throw in here is that a lot of people are still saying for our new right fielder. The new right fielder is Brian Reynolds. I know that didn't make the biggest headlines early in camp, but Reynolds is moving from left to right, and he's going to be left there by all accounts, including from what Reynolds himself told me, the conversation they had with him. They just want him to think about one position and think about hitting and think about staying as healthy and as available as he can. But the other position, the other side, it is shaping up as Pham. And this is part of the reason that I keep mentioning Jack Sawinski. And if Jack were to just, break through, find his eureka self, it would be a very good situation for the Pirates because there's just no indication that they're still pursuing anyone or anything from the outside. Not for first base, not for the corner outfield. In which case, they're going to open the season with a 26-man payroll that'll be somewhere around $90 million. And you'd have to presume that if they do make it to the $100 million that I was told they'd get to, it'll be over the course of the season or, not at all. And anything I say on this subject would be a repeat of a repeat of a repeat. So what I'll offer instead is this. The schedule this team faces over the first 6-7 weeks, the real schedule, the real games, is no picnic. Going into those without a first baseman, And the platoon option that they have there, Spencer Horwitz, of course, is expected to miss at least a couple of weeks of that. But not having someone there, and then having Tommy Pham at age 36 coming off a year where he hit .248 with 9 home runs over 441 at-bats, that's all right. You've heard it before. I'm going to say it again. It's just not to be taken seriously. It's not to be taken seriously. It's not a serious operation that is serious about the one thing they should be most serious about. I couldn't resist. I mean, you knew what you were doing, right? I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow and try to take it a little more seriously.